The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, good afternoon or good morning to some of you. Welcome to Autodesk webinars, 31st July 2019. So I hope everyone can hear me and see my slide right now. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Wan Chua and I'll be the presenter for today's webinars. And today I'll be accompanied by Yukwa Cheng, who will help me to answer some of your questions during our presentations today. So as usual, if you have any questions during our presentations, you can type your questions in the questions box and you don't have to wait until the end of the presentations. So either myself or Yukwa will try our best to answer your questions. And if your questions require more discussions, you can raise a support request with us, then we'll follow up with you accordingly from there. All right. So if you happen to miss our previous webinar sessions, you can find the recording in our YouTube channel under Build Your Up and Ready Knowledge playlist. Okay. So today's webinar will be covering the topic of best practices in installations, uninstallations, and activations at the same time. All right. We'll start with installations as the first topic. So before we move into downloading and installing your Autodesk product topic, you need to make sure that you have followed this checklist. Okay, so first you need to make sure whether your machine fits the system requirement stated in our Autodesk page. Okay. Next, you must check whether you have enough admin access to install Autodesk product into your machines. And then to check whether you have any restrictions before installing, especially on the registry portions. Some company might have restricted their users to write something to the registry. Okay, the next one will be clearing your temp folders, and then disable your antivirus and user acceptance control temporarily from the control panels. Okay. So do take note, this is not necessary, but it's good to disable these two temporarily to avoid any unwanted restricted access during your installations process. So do also make sure your Windows is up to date. So any prerequisite components can be installed properly during Autodesk software installations. So this one will be something like Visual C++ or any .NET update. And lastly, do not modify anything on the registry, and you can try more than one download method if the first method of installation failed. All right, before installations, we'll move into the download choices that you can get from your Autodesk account or from our online resources. Okay, here are some of the download options, such as install now, download now, browser download, or you can even download from our virtual agents or Autodesk desktop app. So the first three options, you can get them in your Autodesk account page. Find the product that you want to download, and then click view all link here as highlighted here. And you can choose whether you want to download by using install now, download now, or browser download options. And as for virtual agent, you can access by clicking the link provided in this slide. So we'll give you the slide later, so you can download this into your machines later. Okay. For the last alternative, you can also download it from Autodesk desktop app, but do take note, you can only see the software to download if the license has been assigned by your contract admin accordingly. So we do recommend most of our users to use browser download in terms of downloading method to avoid any disruptions during the download, especially if you have unstable networks for downloading the software. All right, once the download is done, assuming that you're using download now or browser download, or through virtual agents, you can double click the installer, and here's our installer graphic user interface will look like. Okay, you'll be able to see three options in here. First is creating a deployment. Let's say if you want to deploy more than one users, you can actually choose these options. And then second one will be tools and utility installations. These are all the add-ins and installations tool as well. And lastly, normal installation options. But do take note, some of our light versions or LT versions for certain products might not come with create deployment options. So just take note of this. Okay, when you click install, you'll be directed to our license agreement page. So you need to specify the country that you reside at, and you have to accept the end user license agreements to proceed to the next page. So in the next page, you will be able to customize your product installations. But if you're not sure on how to customize it, I would suggest if you can stick with the default installations instead. So the installation path can be changed as well. But again, we'll suggest you to stick with the default path instead, unless your working environment require you to do so. All right. Once the installation finished, you'll see a window that will list all of the summary. So if there's no error highlighted here in this page, you're good to launch the software and you can proceed with the activations afterwards. All right. Now let's move on into the activations process. So you launch your software for the first time, you'll be able to see these three options to activate your software. Okay. First one will be sign in. Second one will be enter serial numbers. And the third one will be using a network license. So you can choose accordingly to your subscription type. Some of you might use a single user's license or network license. Do also take note that for 2018 or below versions, the activation screen will look like this. Okay, and for 2019 or above, it should look like this, just like the screenshot at the bottom here. All right, first method will be sign in. This is straightforward. You must sign in by using the registered email address that is tagged to the product. Please do take note, sometimes you will not be able to see this page. You need to double check whether you have any proxy or firewall blocking the activations workflow. Okay, because from this point onwards, we require your machines to communicate with our Autodesk server. And on top of that, you can turn off your antivirus for the time being. Sometimes real scanning features on the antivirus might block this window to be appeared during activations. And please also take note, if you're using serial numbers, do not choose sign in options. Please proceed to input the serial numbers instead, as highlighted in the slides before this. Because if you're choosing single users while you're provided by a serial numbers, you might be end up in the trial loop. So just take note of that. All right, next method of activations will be entering serial numbers. You'll be prompted by a couple of windows, such as first one will be Autodesk privacy statement. Then you can start to activate your products. Okay, you can find your serial numbers and product key from your Autodesk account by logging in into this URL, manage.autodesk.com. So under product and services, you should be able to find this. And if you can't find this, and please approach your contract admin. Sometimes they might need to assign it to you manually first before you can see it from your email address. So once you have input everything here, serial numbers and product key, you can click next, then the product should be activated afterwards. Alright, for those of you who use network license, you can use the network license options, and then you can input your license server type. Okay, whether it's single license servers, redundant license server, or distributed license server. Okay, and at the bottom you can input your server name, host name, or you can put the IP address of your server as well. So whichever works for you. So once you click done, the software will be activated, just like others method. Okay, so upon first successful license activations, you can double check the license informations by doing this step. Okay, so you can open your software, click the drop down menu beside the question mark symbols as highlighted in the screenshot. Okay, choose about Autodesk, and the product name will be depends on what kind of products you open. Okay, and you can click manage license afterwards, and then license Windows informations will appear. And you can check whether the right serial numbers or license user ID are listed correctly here on this page. Please do take note, every product might have different way to find out about the license informations, but most of them should be similar as the methods that I've explained here. Alright, if you need to reset your license activation type, assuming the previous activation is still active and you can launch your Autodesk software, you can simply changing it by using this method. The same workflow as how you can check your license. In the license information page, you can click change license type as shown in the screenshot here. Okay, and then the software will need to be closed and relaunched for reactivations afterwards. So next, this slide will be explaining when in the scenario whereby you are not able to launch the software properly, but you need to reset the activations process. Do take note, this one will only apply to 2017 until 2019 versions. Okay, so you can do another workaround by deleting these files and folder listed here. And this is applicable for Windows operating system. So on top of that, if you're migrating your software from suites to industry collections or any other standalone products, you might need to reinstall the software because it contains different product key. So you can simply uninstall it from Autodesk uninstall tool, which I can show it to you later on how you can install it from that uninstall tool from Autodesk. All right, and here are the locations for the files and folders for Mac operating system. So let's say if you need to reset the license activations on Mac operating system, you can refer to these files and folders. Okay, same goes for the product key. If you are moving from suites to AEC, please change this as well. So you might need to reinstall it, but for uninstallations on Mac operating system will be much more straightforward compared to Windows. All right, moving on for 2020 versions, we have a slightly different way of resetting the license. All right, you need to run this command provided over here. Okay, in the command prompt or terminal windows in Mac or Linux. Okay, so all of these informations can be found in our knowledge base database. So I'm not really going for the technical explanations here, but you can refer to that knowledge base. It should be very straightforward to follow. All right, and if you're stuck and if you need helps, you can always raise a support request to us so we can help you. All right, we'll move on into uninstallations topic. Okay, before we move into the steps, let's understand what does clean reinstallations means. So, clean reinstallations means you will clean uninstall the entire Autodesk software and reinstall the software back into the machines. So these clean reinstallations normally will be done for these purposes. Okay, first one is to clean any unused residual components from other versions of Autodesk software. Okay, or maybe you are stuck with a certain versions of installations, you can resort with this clean reinstallations process as well. Okay, or even fixing some of the licensing issues, you can also follow this process. So a clean machine is generally positive. So do take note, this is not compulsory, but it's a good practice to use the versions that you need instead. All right, before we move into the clean uninstallation step, please take note for 2020 product versions, there is one additional steps needs to be taken first before we follow the uninstallation process. So the step will be uninstalling Autodesk licensing component in the path provided here. Okay, and this needs to be done to avoid common error like 1603 during reinstallations process. So some of you might have seen this before. So this is going to be a helpful tips. Just make sure before you proceed with the uninstallations, please make sure you uninstall this ADSK licensing component first. All right, we'll start the steps on how to clean and install the software from Windows machine first. So please make sure all Autodesk applications is closed, including Autodesk Desktop app. So how can you close Autodesk Desktop app? Besides exiting the apps, you can go to your task managers and end this process. So after that, for an easier installation steps, it always great to uninstall your software from Autodesk uninstall tool first. Okay, you can easily find this from Windows Start button and search for uninstall tool. And the reason why we start with this is because user doesn't have to do these uninstallations one by one from Windows control panel. So at least for the core products, this can be easily achieved by using Autodesk uninstall tool. As you can see from the screenshot here, you can take the core products and uninstall the rest of the related components. All right, moving on into the next step of uninstallations, you might want to double check whether there is any residual components in the control panels, program and feature console, see any leftover Autodesk add-on or any third-party plugin. So this is not necessary to be uninstalled, but it's good to uninstall this just to make sure there is no leftover components during our reinstallation later. All right, once you have uninstalled those core products and the related components or any other third-party plugins, we can move to the next step by clearing those residual files and folders. Okay, so in this slide, you can see the list of files and folders that you can delete after a clean uninstallations process. Do take note, some of these folders are hidden, so you need to unhide this from the Windows folder settings. All right, and as for this FlexNet folders, just make sure you only deleted Autodesk or any ADSK related files, because sometimes other files might get saved in this FlexNet folders as well. All right, but the file name is quite easy to differentiate for Autodesk. The files will start with ADSK files as a prefix. And there will be another folders from Autodesk that's normally located in the C drive, C root. You can keep this for your future reinstallations process. So this normally will only contains Autodesk extracted installer from your download or Autodesk license manager folders. So do also take note if your users are saving their documents accidentally in all of these folders listed here, you might want to back this up first. But very less likely chance that they will save it in our system files folders, because all of these are only meant for installation. So after cleaning up those residual files and folders, you can proceed to delete the registry. These are the two registry that you can delete after the rest of the step uninstallations are done. Okay, do take note, aside from these two registry, we'll suggest not to delete or even modify. Right, so just focus on these two. You don't have to go to any others registry that is related. Right. Before we move into clean uninstallation in Mac, let me just summarize the steps for clean uninstallation in Windows. So first, make sure you back up your working files if it is located under these folders listed in the slides here. Okay, then you can proceed to uninstall the Autodesk product from uninstall tool. All right, then followed by uninstall the Autodesk components through a control panel. And then you can proceed to delete the files and folders afterwards. And lastly, delete the remaining registry for Autodesk software, which is the last two that we shown you before this slide. All right, we'll move on into make clean uninstallations. So for Mac, it is much more straightforward as compared to Windows, since there is no registry involved and the application removal is faster and is easier. The first step of Mac uninstallations, you can find the application first by going through your Finder. So in the applications windows, you can try to find Autodesk folders, navigate to the product folders, and you can remove the applications there. All right, as you can see from the screenshots, it's very straightforward. And just like Windows, you can remove the residual files and folders as well, located in this folder listed here. All right. So if you are having issues with your installations, activations, or even any uninstallations process, you can always go to our knowledge base portal. Okay. And then if you have the error, that would be great. You can search the error there, and there will be a bunch of articles that you can refer to. So let's say if you are still stuck and you need further help and you need some human helps, then you can always reach out to us by raising a support request. All right, Ate, that's all for today's webinar. So we'll be accepting some of the questions here, and then we'll help you to answer one by one. Okay, thank you. So you can start typing your questions here.